Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm Keith Downey, your host, and I wanted to finish my thought there, but Saint Angela Merici is today's headliner saint of the day. Very much into education, which falls perfectly in today's theme on The Next Right Thing with Debbie Georgianni and Adam Blai, talking all about how important Catholic education is. Good morning, Debbie and Adam.
You're right again, Keith. Yep, it's kickoff to Catholic Schools Week, united in faith and community, and our saint of the day, definitely St. Angela Merici, definitely had education as the primary focus of their religious order. And so we're talking all about Catholic education this week and especially today. So, Adam, do you want to begin?
Sure, Deb. You know, I went to Catholic school myself, and I don't want to break into a bunch of long stories about that, but I'm, looking back over my life, I can say that I'm grateful, and it really did help me. We still had nuns in those days, and I know that's relatively rare now. We had mostly nuns as teachers and a few lay people. But, the things I remember, even going back to grade school, are learning the rosary during there would be classes dedicated to religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you would kind of learn the faith and learn different things. And the biggest thing that stands out to me, the two things overall, is learning the rosary in the classroom, and then the days that our nun teachers would take us over to Mass.
Right.
So typically we went to Mass 2 or 3 times a week during the school week, if I'm remembering right. This was a long time ago, at least for the grade school part. And, they would take us over. It was St. Agnes in Westchester, PA, which is, I believe it's still there. Large kind of Gothic style church, a lot of dark woods. It was an intense experience. It was good. And looking back over my life, at the time, of course, you're just in school and it's okay, this is just what we do. And, you kind of go through the motions, not really appreciating what you're getting. But looking back on it, it really helped. There was some basic things that to me were just common sense because I had learned them so early, in my education, that they just became part of life. It wasn't I need to remember what are the rules in the church for this or that, or how do we do this at Mass. It was just part of life.
Right.
So I that part was important. Learning about the faith in the classroom was super helpful.
Having the freedom to talk about God. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I remember is when kids would bring up questions about secular stuff or even occult stuff that was in the culture or on TV, like a movie that had just come out on TV. In those days, there was no streaming. It was actual TV. You had to wait till the program ran, because I'm becoming an old person as we speak. There was a value in getting a little bit of feedback on that, because if you don't have somebody to check in with,
right,
sometimes you just swallow that stuff. Oh, okay, well, it must be true. It was on the screen. So I don't know. I see a lot of value in my own life. And then I have priest friends that have schools in their parishes, that they partly administer or are really involved in.
Mm-hmm.
They find a lot of joy in that. And they really do work hard to provide spiritual content, special blessings for the students at the beginning of the year, or offering adoration, after school for students that want it. Different things. I don't know
the sacraments. No, I totally agree with you. I was raised going to Catholic school as well, K through 8th. All of my brothers and sisters, all 6 of us, my parents really did sacrifice big time to send us to Catholic school. The school is still standing there in Caldwell, New Jersey, St. Aloysius in Caldwell, New Jersey, and we were taught by the Dominican sisters. Cool, interesting little fact about the elementary school I went to. The playground backs up to my grandmother's backyard. So my grandmother's backyard there was a fence, and then that separated with the playground. So I could see her every single day if I wanted to when I went out into the playground, and it was really very cool to have your grandmother right there. So it's very convenient. But I agree with you. The value of Catholic education. The Catholics have always been involved in forming and informing the public, right? So there's almost 6,000 schools, Catholic schools, a couple hundred Catholic universities, and so it is an important part of what we do as Catholics, being out there in the world. And you're right, there's tremendous value in Catholic education with the understanding of religion classes and the ability to discuss things that you wouldn't be able to do in public school. My children went to public school. It was very difficult for them sometimes because they would come home and they would say, Mom, this happened and we couldn't even talk about it, or this, and some moral issue or something that leaned a little bit too close to Christianity, and they couldn't discuss it in the public schools, and that was unfortunate. But at the time when my kids were in elementary school, we had very vibrant ministry programs at the parish, and so I think it's very important. I'm a catechist by training for many, many years, and I will tell you that it's very important to keep kids engaged at the parish. Whether they go to Catholic school or public school, they should be engaged in their parish community and try to find those programs or those opportunities for them to serve as an usher, or during the children's mass or the teen mass, or lector, or be an altar server. There's so many things I could say, but I agree with you, Adam. It was really interesting. It was second nature to us, to have the school right there in our little town, and all of my brothers and sisters went to that school. My mom went to the same school. I mean, it was just something that we were just so used to. It wasn't until my mother was aging and getting ready to leave this earth that it finally dawned on me, Adam, to thank her. And I sat her down one day at breakfast, and I said, Mom, I just want to thank you for you and Dad, doing what you did to put us all through Catholic school, K through 8th, and thank you so much for sacrificing. And she was so cute. She just said, "You're welcome." It was not it just was something that they knew they had to do. But now let's fast forward for a moment, Adam, and let's talk about the Catholic schools today. The Catholic school that you're remembering and the Catholic school that I'm remembering, yeah, you're right. The school masses, the hymns, the devotions, everything we learned on a regular basis was very much part of the education process and our weekday walk at Catholic school. But sometimes there's a Catholic banner that's put up at these schools, and it looks like Catholic. It kind of has some of the bells and whistles like Catholics. But it's really, when you get into the side of the building and the institution, it's not Catholic at all. And that's that scares me, Adam. I'll be honest with you, because I think that we as Catholics, we trust very easily, and we will send our children to programs that have the Catholic banner. And, did we really do the research? Did we really go, undercover, if you will, and find out what's going on at these places? Because it's not. It's scary sometimes. What do you say to that?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is true. You now need to really look into it and make sure it is genuinely Catholic. If it has the word Catholic in the title of the school, my understanding is it needs to adhere to Catholic teachings on morals and ethics, and support those. Otherwise, you're not supposed to use that title, Catholic. You can't just use it because you want to. Basically, it's kind of, at the permission of the local bishop, of the diocesan bishop. You can't just use that term because you want to. So really, you're supposed to be adhering to the Church's teaching on morals and ethics and, spiritual matters. But yeah, unfortunately, you need to look into it, talk with other parents, go online, look at reviews, things like that.
Maybe try to sit in on a class or two. I mean, really do that investigative type, because you don't know, right?
You don't know, and here's one of the things we're facing, right, is a lot of people don't know the faith, and we know that the country is becoming increasingly less religious, right? The nuns are getting bigger, N-O-N-E-S. So I think parents are kind of relying on the Catholic school system to teach the faith, because the parents, though they often know the basics, many don't know a lot of the details. So if you're relying on the school to teach the faith well, to keep the understanding of the faith alive in the culture, you got to make sure that's actually happening,
Right.
and that the teachers that they have working there actually know the faith and are able to pass it on. Do they have classes on religion and on the Catholic faith? Is there something like that going on there?
Right. Well, and it's interesting, and I really mean this sincerely, that you got to do that proper, research and ask the right questions, and then ask the questions again and again. You don't just accept the first answer, because I'll give you an example, and maybe we'll continue this conversation after the break. But when I was a religious education director, I used to go and sit in and on the classes. Now these are mainly public school kids that came for religious education, and we had a very highly trained catechist. She was a teacher during the day, and then she came and she was a catechist at night. And she went through all the training, and I had heard rumors from the kids that she was pushing her own personal agenda. And so I sat in on the class several times. She was perfect. She said, did everything just perfect when I was in the class. So I thought, I got to get a little bit more clever about this. So talking about undercover, I sent a parent in, and I said, I need you to sit in, and I need you to bring a notebook, and I need you to take notes. Oh my goodness, Adam, what she was teaching, what she was pushing on these children, because she had her own compromised belief system, and she was really stretching things. It was shocking. And she had gone through all the catechist training. She had gone through everything. She was active in the church. She was friends with the pastor. I mean, it was shocking. And, really, you got to go the extra mile and find out what is being taught to the children. Because once they get a hold of the kids and form them, these kids are forever impacted by that. Let's hold it there, Adam, and I'd love to hear your comments. Let's send it back to Keith for some important announcements.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Debbie and Adam. And if you remembered, we interviewed Sam Phillips, Director of Admissions from Christendom College. A great conversation, made me want to go back to college, specifically at Christendom. But we talked about the best week ever, a way for high school juniors to spend a week at Christendom to see if it's the right fit. And we also have a promo code that you can utilize for your child. The promo code is JOY. And that is 30% off of that best week ever. You can literally go to thebestweekever.com and it'll pull up for you. But all this is great conversation about Catholic education, because it is Catholic School Week. We're celebrating Catholic schools because we know how important it is for a strong Catholic education. And we are continuing this conversation after this break on the importance of that Catholic education with Debbie Georgianni and Adam Blai here on The Next Right Thing. So we'll be right back on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
You're listening to Morning Joy, where truth matters.
Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and on the final segment this morning of The Next Right Thing, we're continuing the conversation on it being Catholic Schools Week and the importance of a solid Catholic education with Debbie Georgianni and Adam Blai. Take it away, Debbie and Adam.
Okay, so I'm on a roll, Adam, but please forgive me. So let me just go a little bit further, because I put my mom hat on during the break. So let me just give it just little pieces of advice for whoever's listening and wants to take note of this. If your kids are in Catholic school, I mean, don't just assume they're getting an absolute, authentic, 100% Catholic education. Be active. Be on campus. sit in the classes, read the curriculum, ask your kids questions. It's very important. If your kids are in public school, same thing. Be active on the campuses, and also be reading the materials that come home. And when you put them into a parish setting for a parish program, make sure that it is authentically Catholic. Maybe you sign up to be a catechist aide or be in the classroom. Okay, I gave you a perfect example of what happened when I was a religious education director. I mean, I checked all the boxes, watched everything, trained all these catechists, and yet this catechist was still pushing her own personal agenda that was different from what we teach in the Catholic Church. Okay, and if you're homeschooling, well, that's fantastic, because now you have that awesome opportunity as the primary teacher and catechist for your child to really form them in the faith properly. So I'm just saying, parents, please don't just drop off your kids and assume that they are being taught all the elements of the faith the way you would want it to be taught. So be very, very active. That's what I would say. Now, kind of fun, I want to hear your comments on all this, Adam, but kind of a fun little trivia. So I mentioned St. Aloysius in Caldwell, New Jersey. There's a very famous person that attended that same school, and that was Father Benedict Groeschel. Okay.
You know what comes to mind, Deb, and I bet some people are wondering this. They're wondering, well, Deb, Adam, what if I do hear from my kids that somebody's teaching some strange stuff in school and I know it's contrary to the faith? What do I do? What's the best way to approach that? Do I go to the school and, talk to the principal? Do I go write a letter to the teacher? Do I write to the bishop? What do you think the best way to approach it is?
Catholic schools are very small. The school classroom size is much smaller than the public school. So when parents voice their concerns, when they voice their objections or they raise questions, very much it spreads through the Catholic school. It's just the way it works, because Catholic schools tend to be smaller. So I would just say that if you see something, hear something, I would definitely make a note of it, and I would bring it up with the administration, sit down with them and just say, I'm a bit concerned because this is not what I know to be true in the Catholic Church. And I would talk to the administration, and then I would keep pursuing it until you get a suitable answer. I wouldn't, if it were me, I wouldn't just rush and, try to grab a bunch of parents and, gang up on the principal or rush to the pastor and say, look what's going on at this school. I think that's overwhelming, and I'll tell you why. I worked for 2 parishes that had schools. And as you know, Adam, it's a lot to carry a school and the parish community. And I think sometimes it can really be such a heavy thing to do, on a responsibility on a regular basis, that you need some quality support in it. And what I mean by that is just courteous, kind of walking with each other to educate each other. I've seen a lot of parishes and a lot of schools on parish campuses make some really good changes and improvements based on the way parents approached the pastor and approach the principal. When they really rush and start, screaming and getting really upset, it doesn't always work out well. Mm-hmm. So I just would say to everyone, just but I definitely wouldn't keep it quiet. If I saw something on a parish campus or I saw something on a school campus that was different from what I was taught and what I know to be true as a Catholic, I would definitely say something. It's our responsibility to say something. I mean, we're going to be judged for that. Everything we see, everything we take in, we're going to be held accountable for that. So we should definitely say something. Don't just turn a blind eye and say, oh, okay, no big deal, they must know better, or the pastor must be okay with it. Don't assume that, because there's a lot going on at the parish life. Wouldn't you say, Adam? Especially if there's a school involved.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying about we'll be held accountable for that is we have to inform their conscience.
Exactly.
Right? So if we see somebody sinning or promoting stuff contrary to the faith, what we're responsible for is to inform their conscience and do our best to do that. Then it's on them. Right. So you don't have to feel like, well, I wasn't able to get my school to change on this issue and now I'm going to pay for that. No, as long as you let the proper people in authority know you've done your part.
Right.
I wanted to, just a couple things before we run out of time. There's two values to Catholic education that, one, I think not many people think of, and that is vocations.
Mm-hmm.
Catholic schools historically, and by the way, footnote on this, the Catholic Church gave us higher education. The first
That's right.
colleges and universities in the history of Western civilization, they were all the Catholic Church setting them up. The Catholic Church is what kept literacy alive through the Dark Ages in the monastic system. Just, giving props to the Church for that. Thank you.
And they've done the same for hospitals too, but go ahead.
Yeah. But one of the great values of this wonderful system that the Church gave us historically is vocations. And why is that? Well, like for me, I was talking about the nuns that I saw. Well, for us, it was normal that there are women that choose to be nuns, and they live this life, and they seem to be happy and fulfilled, and they have good things to do with their time. It became normal for us. And when I would see, in over the last 20-some years, as I've gotten close with some monks and monks and brothers, priests and brothers in monastic orders, and becoming aware that that is a normal thing that really happens. That's important. Jesus, of course, can call anybody to a vocation, whether they're exposed to people living those things or not. Sometimes you have that from very early age, and that's just a grace you get. But a lot of times it really helps to see people living out vocations in terms of inspiring, like, okay, I have that urge, but wow, it's actually possible. I see people actually doing it.
Well, and Adam, let me just say this, though. If you are going to be a sister or a priest on campus at a Catholic school, try to be joy-filled, because there's some crabby religious and crabby priests, and that's not good either. Because I have friends who've left the Catholic Church because they felt that they had a really bad encounter with the nuns. So that's not, you know what I mean. So I think when they live out their vocation, they should live it out in a joy-filled manner.
Yeah, as much as possible, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And the final thing, I know homeschooling can be wonderful, but there's also a great value in the socialization that kids get, being around other kids as they're growing up and learning how to relate with others, and specifically on Catholic issues, like being able to discuss doubts and questions about the faith amongst the kids, and then having a teacher, an adult that you can ask for clarification on that, because you're going to live in the world and be exposed to the doubts and questions and people that being dismissive. And if you've learned to deal with that and talk those things through, you're not going to be as vulnerable to those kind of attacks on your faith.
Well, that's why there's really good parish programs too. So like altar serving and stuff to get kids involved. So that would be wonderful. Okay, I know we got to wrap up. So this was fantastic. I just want my final little takeaway of this is that just please look for Catholic programs, Catholic schools that are authentically Catholic. This is what we do here on Morning Joy. That's why our tagline is where truth matters, okay? It matters, and it's important, so just look for that. Adam, you are awesome. Thank you so much. This was great to start Catholic Schools Week, and God willing, I'll see you tomorrow morning. We're going to send it back to Keith for the rest of Morning Joy.
All righty. Thank you so much, Debbie and Adam. And if you missed this last Saturday's episode of The Spirit World, very great show. Debbie and Adam dived into your email questions like, is it spiritually dangerous to gather with relatives who are Freemasons? Can you send your guardian angel to Mass for you? Will a beloved horse be in heaven? Oh, and so many more questions. You're not going to want to miss it. And if you did, just make sure to search The Spirit World wherever you listen to podcasts. But coming up next, as the national debate on immigration intensifies, we delve into the question, what does Catholic teaching say about immigration? I'm going to stay tuned. We'll be right back on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
You're listening to Morning Joy, where truth matters.